Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's good to be here with you. My name is Patricia Summers, and thank you for whatever it took for you to be able to be present tonight. It's nighttime here in Colorado in the United States. I don't know what time of day it is where you are, so thank you. I'm here to share with you a revelation that's never been released to the world before. It's entitled Understanding Money, Wealth, and Power. And this revelation is one of 800 revelations that was received by Marshall Van Summers, who is my husband, over a 40-year period. This revelation was received in January of 2008. And, you know, it might be a natural question in the mind to say, my goodness, why is a revelation received in 2008 only being released now in 2023? Very legitimate question. And the answer to the question is the 800 revelations that Marshall's received. It's been amazing to watch the society, revelation by revelation, and Marshall as well, bring these forward, either as singular revelations or as compilations in books or as whole books. So it's been an amazing, miraculous process, actually, not to overstate it. So just in brief, what is the new message from God revelation? It's a process of communication, divine communication, that has been occurring over decades. My husband has been the recipient of this communication. I've been present over these 4 decades, almost from the very beginning. There were some revelations received just before I met Marshall. But what was precious in that time is he was in the earliest of times in terms of receiving this revelation. Just really, when I look back, it's very moving for me. So the society who is gathered around Marshall, the Society for the New Message, are assisting him in bringing forth this divine communication so that we can give it to the world as a gift. It was given to Marshall as a gift. It needs to be given to the world as a gift. The world needs a gift. A gift, okay? And amazingly, this is a gift from the divine, okay? A new message from God. I think I remember the earliest of years when we were trying to find within ourselves the ability to even say that. Each of us here who were the earliest of us to find Marshall and to know we had a role to help him. So a new message from God. It even took us and has ever since taken us time to really wrap our heads around this amazing process. So it's been a privilege. You know, from the very beginning, Marshall would say he was the first student, and he very, very humbly submitted himself to this process, you know, of learning. So we have tremendous gratitude for Marshall for his humility, his endurance, and his perseverance. He's with us now. It's wonderful. And so thank you for being here. In terms of the voice of revelation, this is what you're about to hear and read, okay? Read in text form and actually hear it. The voice of revelation has described itself to Marshall as the many speaking as one. So consider that as an image in your mind. The many speaking as one. Communicating to all people in the world. So this is a powerful communication, and in this particular situation with this particular revelation, we have the amazing opportunity to go down to ground level and to consider the importance or the relevance of the currency of life, whether it be money, wealth, and power, or our own sense of inspiration and knowing. Okay, the revelation talks about these currencies. And this revelation will also speak to the need to align these powerful forces of money, wealth, and power, and personal inspiration and drive with what we're really here to accomplish. To begin to really, really focus these things powerfully. we have, just before we go into actually hearing and seeing the text of the Revelation, there's a passage I'd like to bring forward here, and we'll see if we can display this. It has to do with our relationship with money, wealth, and power. So to be able to approach the issue of money, wealth, and power, it is wise then to see it in terms of relationship. What is your relationship with money, and what does that relationship serve? It is one's relationship with money, one's relationship with wealth, and one's relationship with power that really must be clearly understood. And so I feel tremendous gratitude to the source of the new message, that the compassion. If you were to look at the scope of this revelation and in its entirety, the 800 revelations that, or greater than that, that's been given to Marshall, it speaks to, honestly, the universe, to God, to the angelic presence, to humanity, to the planet Earth, to its dilemmas with regard to what it refers to as the great waves of change. Huge, huge, huge realities. And at the same time, it so compassionately brings us right back to ground level, to the day-to-day stuff of dealing with the currency of life, money, wealth, and power on whatever level. So I'm really grateful and really moved by this intention of the source of the new message. So thank you for being here. This revelation is 59 minutes long. Marshall said today, it's a very big subject, therefore it requires a very big teaching. So that's what we're about to read and hear. So as you're listening, consider what strikes you, those chords within you that get struck. And afterwards, we'll have an opportunity to spend time together. And I encourage you, if you're in a position to share your thoughts and insights on whatever platform you're on. We're gathering here from across the world. I haven't had a chance to see where all of you are from. Feel free to even say, I'm from wherever, right? This is wonderful. So we'll revisit your contributions following the revelation, and I look forward to hearing and reading them. So thank you. So let's take a moment to settle in, to get relaxed, and to prepare ourselves to engage with the voice of revelation.
Today we will speak on an important subject to everyone. Today we will speak about money, wealth and power. Certainly, money is central to everyone's functioning in the world. And it is indeed a crisis for many people already. Yet the question must be asked, how much does one really need? What are one's fundamental needs? And beyond meeting these fundamental needs, then, what is the proper use of money? And indeed, what is the meaning of accumulating wealth? And what is wealth and what is it for? And of course, money is associated with social power. And wealth is associated with social power. The power to control your own circumstances, but also the power to control other people. What they do, what they think, how they perceive you, and so forth. So money is directly related to the issue of power. Many people have a very unhealthy relationship with money. They associate it with evil. They associate it with abuse. They associate it with all of the destructive tendencies in human beings. Other people worship money, what they think money can do for them. And here indeed the wealthy have not produced an inspiring example of all. But money is like food. It is a resource. It is something that must be understood clearly. It is something that must be used appropriately. It is something that must serve fundamental and essential needs primarily. Many people have an abusive relationship with food. But that does not mean food in itself is dangerous or destructive. It is one's relationship with food, one's relationship with money, one's relationship with wealth, one's relationship with power that really must be clearly understood. In the new message, everything's brought within the context of relationship. Because this is a healthy and a responsible way of looking at things, of how you engage yourself with the world, with other people, how you engage yourself with your own assets, how you engage yourself with resources. Money here is a resource. It is a tool. What does it serve? Is it strengthening you or is it weakening you? Is it building essential stability and focus in your life? Or is it dissipating your focus and your strength? What is money for you? How do you use money? How is money associated with your own values, what you hold to be important? For people demonstrate their value system by the use of their resources, of which money is but a part. Time is a resource. Money is a resource. Physical energy is a resource. Intelligence is a resource. And you have a relationship with all these things, you see. What is the nature of that relationship and what does it serve? So to be able to approach this issue of money and wealth and power, it is wise then to see it in terms of relationship. What is your relationship with money? And what does that relationship serve? People may ask, well, why does it have to serve anything? But this is an ignorant question because everything serves something. Everything serves a purpose, either a genuine purpose or a purpose that is invented or imagined. Everything in life has purpose. Everything you do expresses your sense of purpose, whatever it may be. Your sense of purpose is based upon your idea of yourself, who you think you are. And your values are built around that. If you think you are merely a person struggling to survive in a dangerous and hostile world, well, and your survival is your purpose, and gratification is your purpose, well, your whole value system will be built on that. And that will determine your purpose and your relationship with yourself, with the world, with the resources, with other people, with everything. So you cannot escape the reality of purpose. Even if you think there is no purpose, or you think that the idea of purpose is irrelevant, you are still serving a purpose by thinking this. You are still fulfilling an agenda by believing in this. Even if you tell yourself that nothing really matters, you are serving some kind of purpose by telling yourself these things. Here you can certainly fool yourself. You might be able to fool other people for a time. but you cannot fool life. You cannot betray a fundamental truth about yourself. And that truth is, you are here to serve a purpose. It is either the real purpose that has brought you into the world, a real purpose that lives deep within you, a real purpose that you cannot alter, that you cannot manipulate, that you cannot condition to meet your preferences and expectations. Or it is a purpose that you invent for yourself. For without an awareness of your real purpose, you must invent a purpose for yourself. However unconscious it may be, however ill-defined it might be, however beyond your current awareness it may be, you are serving a purpose. You cannot change this. You can hide from it, you can deny it, you can pretend it does not exist, but you cannot change it. God has sent you into the world for a purpose. Your task is to discover what this is. You cannot define it for yourself. You cannot make it be what you want it to be. You cannot make it validate or fit in with your goals and your plans and expectations. And the degree to which you attempt to do this is the degree to which you are trying to create your own purpose for yourself. People say, well, you can create your own reality. Yes, in your imagination you can do this. Certainly. The world is a canvas for you to paint whatever picture you want. But beneath this, there is the real purpose of your life, awaiting to be discovered. And the only way you can discover it is by following the deeper knowledge that God has placed within you. You may claim that you have found it. You may claim that you know what it is. You may claim that it meets your definition, but you have not found it yet, because you have not taken the steps to knowledge. You have not followed the pathway to discovering and fulfilling this purpose. For this purpose is not merely an idea. It is not merely a definition. It is not merely a set of assumptions. It is a functioning or reality of your life. And as you take the steps to knowledge, which will take you to the realization and expression of your greater purpose in the world, and to those relationships that represent and demonstrate this purpose, your relationship with money, with wealth, and with power will change. In fact, your relationship with everything will really change. It is like undergoing a complete revolution within yourself, where the false powers are overthrown and the real powers can emerge. Where those who pretend to claim sovereignty within you, the ideas, the beliefs, the social conditioning, the expectations of others, give way to the emergence of a greater realization. And this realization comes in stages. It is not all at once. It is as if the center of your being shifts from a set of ideas and beliefs to a deeper reality within you. And the transition process will be very confusing, because you will be leaving what is familiar, but you do not yet know where you are going or what your life will be like. You will be going from an assumption of who you are to a new kind of experience. But in the transition, which can last a long time, well, you can be very confused. The process of surrendering to the greater powers in you is very confusing. People who are afraid to be confused will be afraid to take this journey. They will be afraid to question their beliefs, assumptions, and preferences. They will be afraid to move away from the purpose they have created for themselves, or that they have allowed their culture to create for them. They will prefer to stay in bondage, to be a slave to other forces, to be directed by others, to be directed by their cultures or their religions, their friends, their family. But God has given you a greater purpose for being here. That is what has brought you here. That is why you are the way you are. You are designed for something you have not yet discovered. So as you go through this transition, in taking the steps to knowledge, in following the inner guidance that God has given you, this deeper mind within you, which will take you into a new life, you will go through tremendous confusion. You will have to be without answers for a while. You will have to live without explanation. You will have to live with questions rather than relying upon answers. Adhering to religion, adhering to the beliefs of religion, does not change the realities that you have to go from a self-created purpose to a greater purpose that already lives within you. Being religious does not excuse you from this. It is not a bypass at all. And if you are religious or have been religious, well, you will be confused about God, you will be confused about spirituality, you will be confused about what is right and what is wrong, because you are going through a revolution, and revolutions are very untidy. It is a process of complete re-evaluation and re-adaptation. It is the most profound change that a person can undergo. More profound than marriage, more profound than having a family, more profound even than believing in God. For believing in God does not mean that you are following what God has given you to follow, or that you are seeing what God is giving you to see, or that you are living according to the greater purpose that has brought you into the world at this time. So you see, we cannot talk about money, wealth, and power without speaking about what is fundamental in your life. For these things will change for you if you undertake the great journey that you are meant to take, and that you must take to find a real certainty and purpose in your life. To be without the greater purpose that has brought you here is to live in a state of profound uncertainty and anxiety. And because people live in this state of profound uncertainty and anxiety, they try to use wealth, power, money to offset their fundamental insecurity, disassociated from themselves. Now they try to build associations with things on the outside. And they can never get enough money and enough wealth and enough power, because these things do not offset the fundamental anxiety and uncertainty. And the more that you claim relationship with these three things, the more you feel vulnerable to the world, the more the world threatens you and challenges you, always threatening to take away your money, your wealth, and your power. And instead of offsetting uncertainty and anxiety, it increases for you. Now you become a target of other people's ambitions. Now you become afraid of other people and you cannot trust them. For they want something from you. They want your money, your wealth, and your power. And you become ever more isolated, even living in splendor. And all of your relationships now are overshadowed by this preoccupation. Your relationship with your husband or wife, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your family, your relationship with your friends, and so forth. All overshadowed by this fundamental anxiety. You now have what everyone thinks they want and needs. And so they associate with you for this purpose. Who you really are is unknown to them and to you. And this has a tremendously corrupting influence. That is why it is best to establish your relationship with knowledge fundamentally before you try to build relationships with others, relationships with the world, relationships with money, wealth, and power. Everything that you establish before building your relationship with knowledge, the deeper mind within you, will be thrown into question and doubt should you undertake the greater calling in your life. This greater calling calls you out of your former life. It is not here to validate your former life. It calls you out of your former life. And you follow this because you realize that there is a greater need within you that cannot be fulfilled by anything in the world. It cannot be fulfilled by love, by sex, by money, by positions, by social influence, by personal accomplishment. And the more you give yourself to all these things, to whatever degree that you do, you recognize that you have not found it. You have been in life only to acquire things, possessions, people, opportunities, social status, and so forth, but you have not really found it. The need of the soul remains unfulfilled. Your fundamental anxiety and uncertainty have not been quelled. You are driven by fear, the fear of not having, which is the source of all of your artificial desire. This life is wretched. It is miserable. Even if you live in splendor, your life is like a desert within you, arid, barren. That is why you cannot sit still. That is why you cannot be silent. That is why you have difficulty being alone, without constant stimulation and distraction on the outside. And you always want more, and more, and more, and more. You cannot get enough. It is like a thirst you cannot quench. And you drink, but you are not satisfied. And you eat, but you are not satisfied. And you acquire, but you are not satisfied. And you achieve your goals, but you are not satisfied. And you become jaded and believe that there is no real satisfaction. This is a desolate life. recognize this for what it is. There is no certainty, there is no harmony, there is no integrity here. It is desperate. It is empty. Here, the resources of money, wealth, and power have betrayed you. They have corrupted you. And you feel powerless regarding them, and you may just even give them evil intention and association. But in truth, you have just misused them. And you have misused them because you have not been clear. You have not been connected to the deeper power within you. This power has its own direction. You cannot harness it to get what you want. You cannot use it as a tool. It is much more powerful than your thinking mind. It is much stronger than your ambitions. It has its own purpose and direction. This being the purpose and the direction God has given you to be discovered, to be experienced, and to be expressed in this life. If you can undertake this great journey, then money will change for you, and wealth will change for you, and power will change for you. Fundamentally, power will be associated with knowledge, not with the accumulation of things. Wealth will be associated by your relationship with knowledge and the quality of your relationship with others, and the wisdom that you have accrued in the world. These three things now will become the focus of wealth in your life. Your connection to knowledge, the quality of your relationship with others to enable you to experience and to express knowledge, and the wealth of wisdom that you have accumulated in your life and within your relationships. These three things constitute what real wealth is. So very different it is from the normal belief and association in wealth. Your possessions may be many, your possessions may be few. You may stand at the bottom of the social ladder or at the top, or anywhere in between with this wealth. To be a sage means you can take any form, from the humblest to the noblest, but the reality of your wealth is the same, and the recognition of this wealth in the others is the same, and the valuing of this wealth in every person you see is the same. And here you will not be fooled by appearances. You will not be fooled by beauty or charm or wealth or the promise of opportunity. You will not be seduced by all the things that pretend to be wealth, but the real wealth will be known to you. And the stronger this awareness is, the more immune you will be from all its seductions and persuasions that exist around you. And money here will simply become a tool for accomplishing what you must do in your life. Beyond meeting your certain basic needs and certain simple enjoyments, it becomes a resource for achieving what you came to achieve. It is a tool, it is a form of energy now. It is a resource to be wisely used. And you will want to use it wisely, for you will see that it can fool you or betray you, because it carries social power. And if power is not wielded with knowledge and wisdom, then it becomes deceptive and corruptive. And so you use these resources very carefully. You recognize their social power. You recognize their effect on other people. You recognize the influences they carry within your culture, within your relationships, and so forth. And you must learn to use them wisely and cautiously. Anything that has social power must be used wisely and cautiously, or it can betray you. Sexuality can betray you. Money can betray you. Beauty can betray you. They all have social power, you see. They all have great influence over the perceptions and values of others. Therefore, they must be used very carefully, under the guidance of knowledge. Here, restraint is important. Here, you must hold back tendencies within yourself that would betray your fundamental nature and purpose. Here, you must learn to manage your own tendencies, holding in abeyance those things that could prove to be destructive, that could undermine what you are setting out to do and setting out to discover. Here's the journey has the requirements. Here's the journey that requires self-discipline and focus and consistency. This frees you from being governed by your emotions, by your compulsions, by your attachments, by your need to please other people, by your need to win approval. All of these things that represent various forms of bondage are broken and weakened because you are adhering to something fundamental within yourself. For you see, you do not all of a sudden have knowledge in your life. You do not all of a sudden have purpose in your life. You have to build these things. It is like building a bridge to a different kind of life. It is like getting on a ship and sailing to a distant shore. You cannot take everything from your former home with you. And while you are on that ship taking this journey, well, you have no solid ground to stand upon, do you? Only the vehicle that is taking you where you must go. In this case, that means knowledge within yourself and knowledge within others. This becomes your primary resource, your primary source of wealth, your primary guidance. It gives you the strength to give yourself here and hold yourself back over here. To give yourself to this person and not to that person. It gives you the power to wait. It gives you the power to be patient. It restrains you. It redirects you. It preserves you. Now there's something here that must be clarified. And that is regarding how you live. Because you are now facing a world in decline, a world of declining resources. Because you are facing the great waves of change that are coming to the world. The degradation of your environment, the alteration of your climate and weather, the diminishing of your food, water and energy resources, and the great difficulties this will all bring to humanity and is bringing to humanity even now. You must realize that you must live simply, that you must use resources very conscientiously, that the preservation of resources is not simply a focus for nations and governments, but for each individual. If you have accumulated money and wealth in that sense, even here you must live very simply. For if you do not live simply, you are depriving others, and you are making conflict and war inevitable. People think that war and conflict is the result of political ambitions or economic ambition or ignorance or even evil existing within government leaders. But what people fail to see here is that how they live determines, to a very large degree, what their governments must do to provide for them. If a nation is living beyond its means, then it must rob from other nations. It must gain by whatever means is necessary resources from other nations. If you live beyond what you really need, then what you are really doing is you are requiring your government, your economies, to meet these provisions for you at whatever cost. People want to be wealthy, but they do not want war. They do not see the connection between wealth and war. The quest for political power is not simply the ambitions of individuals in positions of leadership. It is the needs of the nation. It is the expectations of the nation. It is the desires and appetites of the populations, of the citizens. If you want to make a real statement advocating the end of war and conflict, then you must live simply. Your needs must be simple. Own fewer things of higher quality. Do not amass a great deal of possessions. You must control your appetites, or you will fuel competition, conflict, and war in the world around you. And however much you may blame people in positions of leadership for this, or you may think it's a matter of politics or national policy, the truth is that your desires and ambitions are making competition, conflict, and war inevitable. You are taking too much from the well, and the well is getting smaller, and the number of people coming to the well is growing, it's becoming greater. The only way to avoid world war here is to live more simply, to live closer to life, to value relationships more than possessions, to value purpose more than ambition, to seek your fundamental stimulation from the quality of your relationships, from the presence of knowledge within you, and from the wisdom that you have acquired. The three fundamental elements of real wealth. People are lacking these things, and so they must constantly have more and more and more, endlessly trying to satiate a deeper need within them that can only be fulfilled by discovering and following the deeper knowledge that God has given you. It is apparent is that money, wealth, and power is associated with war. But what is not recognized is that it is everyone's desires and appetites that make conflict and war inevitable. In a world of declining resources and growing population, you can see the great danger. You can see where things are going. And this instructs you of how you must learn to live if you are to be a force for good in the world. Even if your purpose is to take a significant role in society, the simplicity of your life will free your time, will free your energy, and will free your focus. Because possessions require time, energy, and focus. And the more possessions that you have, the more time, energy, and focus they require from you. Everything you own, you must maintain. And in some degrees, you must protect. If your life is rotting, If your life is consumed with busy activities, think how many things you are trying to maintain and protect. Simplicity here is not only an ethical responsibility, it is an asset towards freedom. We are not talking about living an ascetic life. That is reserved for specialists. We are talking about living within the fundamental needs of your existence, using what is needed and what gives a real value to your life, and recognizing the limits here. In your heart, you know of these things of which we speak. They are not foreign to you, though you may have been living a life that does not account for them. You have a conscience. Your real conscience is not formed by culture, religion, and family values. It is something that God has given you. You are satisfied the desires of the mind, desires built upon a fundamental anxiety and uncertainty. Or you are fulfilling a deeper need, a deeper calling within you. It does not change. That does not go away. It is always there with you. You may try to forget about God and calling and purpose, but they are always with you. You can believe whatever you want. You can create exceptionally complex ideas and compromises, but you cannot change this fundamental reality. You may believe that God blesses and condemns, that people are sent to heaven and hell. But in truth, God is a great attraction. And that attraction lives within you, calling you, waiting for you, waiting till you come to your senses, waiting till you stop your frantic pursuits, waiting for you to give up your hopeless attempt at personal fulfillment, waiting for you. And this is the great blessing. God is not fooled by your plans and goals and aspirations. God is simply calling you and waiting for you to respond. And the amount of suffering you will undergo and the travail you will create for yourself and the misery you will generate will all be dependent on how long it takes for you to respond. As disappointment attends you, as your goals fail you in the world, as your pursuit of love and romance disappoints you and falls away, it brings you back to this fundamental attraction of God. As you look around the world and you see the desperate attempts at happiness and the immense costs that people are paying for their pursuit of happiness, and the misery and the confusion and the violence and the addiction, it can bring you back to this fundamental attraction, this fundamental relationship. In reality, this is your wealth. But you must build wealth in the world as well to be able to function here. And that wealth is the freedom to experience knowledge and to follow knowledge and to express what knowledge is here to express to you into the world. Knowledge being the greater intelligence that God has placed within you. This will determine your relationship with money, with power, your relationships with people, who to be with, who not to be with, where to go, where not to go, what to do, what not to do. All of the complex issues that confound people begin to become simple here. Like the difference between the light and the dark. What gives inspiration, what takes inspiration away. What gives a sense of well-being, what takes a sense of well-being away. What demonstrates integrity, what denies integrity. What renders self-confidence, what destroys self-confidence. What is warm, what is cold. What is light, what is dark. What is true, what is false. The distinctions become far more simple now. And though you do not have answers for everything, certainly, your life is moving in a true direction. Though you cannot account for everything that you see, hear, and do, your life is moving in a true direction. And you are building something new and leaving something old, step by step. And you are meeting fundamental needs in the world, and you are discerning greater needs within yourself. And you are becoming responsible and practical, and yet inspired all at the same time. And what confuses other people is not confusing you so much now. And what disables other people is not disabling you now. And what is rendering other people helpless and impotent is having less and less effect upon you now. And you are allowing your life to be reshaped by knowledge. You are allowing your understanding of money, wealth, and power to be redefined and demonstrated in a new way for you. You are allowing your relationships with everything around you to shift, because your relationship with what is essential within you now is emerging. You allow yourself to not have answers. You allow yourself to simply look and be present to the world without having to understand it, without having to have definitions and explanations and apologies. Your mind becomes powerful as it becomes this focused and this simple. Your perception becomes more penetrating because it is uniform. It is not distracted by 1,000 different things. And you seek wisdom now. You want to know what is real from what is unreal. You want to know what is true from what is untrue. You want to know what is valuable from what has no value. You want to know what a true relationship is, as opposed to false association. You want to know a real direction in your life, rather than simply going through your life mindlessly and foolishly. This represents the emergence of knowledge within you, and a great emergence it will be. And it will be an emergence of many steps, and will require many decisions along the way. But once begun, it must continue, for now you have found something true. Now you are responding to something beyond definition, beyond explanation. Now you are beginning to turn the ship. Now you are finding that you really have real direction in your life. A direction you must learn to discern and to follow, rather than try to create and manipulate. Seek this in all things who come to you that are truly needed and are truly beneficial. Follow this great emergence, and confusion will leave your life, and strength will return to you. This is the power and the presence that God has placed within you, leading your life now. Instead of a light buried underneath the covers, it is emerging, it is illuminating, it is showing you the way, it is orienting you, it is freeing you. This is the great gift, and this is the gift you want to give to others as you learn to receive it for yourself.
So let's take a moment together now to be with this revelation, what we've just heard and perhaps felt. And perhaps reflect for a moment on what your experience has been of money, wealth, and power. And everything related to it. Again, this revelation was received by Marshall January 13th, 2008. And so much has come since from the voice of revelation. So we encourage you to contribute to chat wherever you are on whatever platform you're on. We'd love to hear from you. And I know this message strikes all kinds of chords, and it's not always easy to interpret what those feelings are. I think for myself, when I think of just the term money, and I know I've used this previous and earlier in the broadcast, I think of the term currency. And I know that money doesn't fully represent the current of my life, right? So I'm left to ask, what is the currency of my life? The feel of movement through my life. And so in spending a little bit of time considering that, I think that focus, intention, and energy combined have come forward for me to carry me forward through all kinds of times of uncertainty, all the way up to the days and moments just before I met Marshall V. Summers, having had to leave an entirely other life in order to make that encounter. So, but this focus, it wasn't a personal focus per se, but it was a building focus. It began to rule out more no's than yeses, actually. And so my forward motion became more focused, interestingly. So intention and energy, where does that come from? That's really worth considering for us individually, because we don't want to manufacture intention and conjure up a bunch of energy either, right? So, and with regard to money, I mean, what do we really need? This is an important question, right? How do we acquire this resource, this currency? And what's needed for our stability and for our passage? When I say passage, I mean our movement from where we've been to where we need to get to. All right, so our passage, So in considering this revelation, it provides us an incredible opportunity to consider things like wealth. Like, what do we consider wealth to be? And in my spending time with this, I think what I began to see as my wealth is what I value, what I actually value. I value my health. I love movement. I love to physically move. I value that. I love to breathe clean air and have clear lungs. I love that. And when I stop, and in my most pathetic moments, and if I can realize what I have, which are those things, then I realize I have this innate wealth. And I don't mean to over-idealize this either, because we do need a certain basis of stability to do what we have to do and to get where we need to get. There's some passages that we pulled out for our time together that we'd like to display. And here's one. Money, it is a tool. What does it serve? Is it strengthening you? Is it weakening you? Is it building essential stability and focus in your life? Or is it dissipating your focus and your strength? What is money for you? What is it for you? How do you use money? How is money associated with your own values and what you hold to be important? Something to consider. Yeah, something to consider. So let's look and see if any of you have anything that's come forward. Carol, oh, thank you, Carol. Everything serves a purpose, either a genuine purpose or a purpose that is invented or imagined. Invented or imagined. Oh, God, yes. She says that this is a very important distinction. Genuine purpose versus invented or imagined purpose, recalling my examples of the latter. These life reviews are so valuable to look back like you are here, Carol. So, yes. And Leslie said, strangely, I have lost everything many times, and that is when I have felt really free. That's when I felt really free. Oh, yes. Yes. So, one thing we could spend time considering for ourselves at some point is the relative health of our relationship with this currency or money, and or energy, focus, and forward movement, even if you want to, because one supports the other. So this is such an inbred aspect of everyday life in society, is our interaction with resources like money. So it would be very constructive to get clear about where you stand, how you feel about this. I mean, a lot of our feelings about money and resources may actually emanate from our childhood. If we look back to our childhood and we consider what did we observe and experience in our families regarding money and resources. It's very interesting to go back and revisit that and to see how much of that did you carry forward. Have you ever had a chance to reframe that for yourself, right? What did we observe in our family's relationship with money? And really, what are we exhibiting to children around us, actually? Really. They're observing this just as we did. So, very worthwhile. Very worthwhile. You look again here and see here. Tyne said, thank you, Tyne, really struck by the need for restraint in managing our tendencies. That could undermine what you are setting out to do and setting out to discover. And that is very true. And this is, this revelation, often when I engage with the revelations, I take note of which revelations are emphasizing the experience of knowledge and the other side of that coin, the experience of self-knowledge or self-knowing, okay? And this revelation invites us to engage in what we know about ourselves, for sure, and about our tendencies. So I think that's an important inquiry to carry forward as we get to know ourselves. And we formed as children, and we were subjected to a lot of environmental factors. So we're in a position now to consider what we carry forward with us and what perhaps we can set aside. So that's an important endeavor and discipline. So, let's see. The revelation, as do all the New Message revelations, speak of knowledge, this deeper spiritual intelligence within us. And we have a passage here we'd like to spend a moment with. These three things now will become the focus of wealth in your life: your connection to knowledge, the quality of your relationship with others to enable you to experience and to express knowledge, and the wealth of wisdom that you have accumulated in your life within your relationships. These three things constitute what real wealth is. So very different this is from the normal belief and association with wealth. So the emphasis always, even Marshall said today, knowledge will guide you in how to acquire and use wealth according to your greater purpose in the world. Knowledge will guide you in how to acquire and use wealth according to your greater purpose in the world. So wealth, what is that in terms of supporting you and fueling your forward motion to get to where you may make your contribution in life, or contributions in life? Knowledge will guide you. The new message teaches us that we have two minds, the mind we think with and the mind we know with. The mind we think with, very valuable. The mind we know with, precious beyond measure. The new message is supporting the development or the evolution of almost a state of marriage within the mind, within our minds. The mind we think with and the mind we know with, together, present, and in the forefront, instead of one aspect of the mind overshadowing the other in a sense, or displacing the other. So knowledge. Wonderful. So let's see here if any of you have any other comments. Jeffrey Shaw said, the handling of wealth and power is such a great challenge for humanity. And Jeffrey, it really is. And I think, I know there's a weight that we all deal with, and it's the long history of abuse and corruption around money, wealth, and power. And it weighs on us, I feel. There's almost a subconscious or unconscious expectation that this corruption and misuse will continue. And it's like, can we trust ourselves around these forces of money, wealth, and power, right? And there's almost like a resonant disappointment, almost a giving in and giving up. Oh, well, what can I do, about this? And I actually have a personal experience of this, going back, in fact, to my childhood. And a little side story had to do with something that occurred with regard to my father in his career. He was a public health commissioner in the state of New York. And he felt himself responsible to uphold public health always. And this ran into interference with the political process in the state at times, and the financial process in the state at times. So I witnessed as a child the stress and pressures he underwent, and ultimately what happened to him as a result, which was very unfortunate. So I understand what you're saying, and it's sobering. So for each of us to come to this accountability, I think is really important, very important, and also to unite with ourselves in terms of the resources that legitimately we need, and how will we use those resources, and be mindful of what other people need as well around us. So that's really, wonderful. Thank you so much, you all. This is wonderful. Maureen said, this is my takeaway. The only way we can find the purpose that we were sent here by God to accomplish is by following steps to knowledge. Steps to knowledge. It requires restraint, self-discipline, focus, consistency, and living simply. Following the steps to knowledge. I mean, there is the very important pathway of development called Steps to Knowledge, the Book of Inner Knowing. Okay, comprises 365 steps in a profound sequence there's steps to knowledge, but then there's also the experience of steps to knowledge within our lives and within our own experience. Taking the steps to finally acknowledging what holds greater validity for us in untold how many situations, right? So, restraint, self-discipline, this is all of what we're all learning, focus, consistency, and living simply, which does help, right? So thank you, Maureen. Thank you. Ilhan says, he's quoting, "This is a desolate life. Recognize this for what it is. There is no certainty, there is no harmony, there is no integrity. It is desperate, it is empty." Yes, I mean, we have those moments, each of us, when we actually feel and see that as we look out into life, you know. Especially in the environment we're now living in, where the landscape of life is shifting beneath our feet in the world with regard to climate, the political environment, our resources, our overall stability as a race. So, in the face of there being no certainty, the question is, where is the certainty within us? If there's no harmony, where is there harmony in us? It's a question. Because we bring these things to life too. This is part of the contribution we stand to make, each of us. So, thank you, you guys. Wonderful. Wealth. We have another passage here that we'd like to share with you. You must build wealth in the world as well to be able to function here, and that wealth is the freedom to experience knowledge and to follow knowledge and to express what knowledge is here to express through you into the world. Knowledge being the greater intelligence that God has placed within you. I mean, I hope you all can feel the invitation being extended to us here through these revelations, in this particular revelation. So you can see how the notion of wealth is being recast in a sense here. It's almost opening a new door to a new experience. You know. So, great. And then a few more passages that I think were important I'd like to share. You are here to serve a purpose. But God has given you a greater purpose for being here. That is what brought you here. That is why you are the way you are. You are designed for something you have not yet discovered. For this purpose is not merely an idea. It is not merely a definition. It is not merely a set of assumptions. It is the function and reality of your life. I mean, can you believe this? I mean, who in the world would ever say this to you? Right? It's amazing. It is the function and reality of your life. It's just, my God. Amazing. Thank you. Wonderful. Great. Wonderful. So with that said, I'd like to just read two more passages just because they stood out for me, and we can take a moment with each of them. This is preserving power. Wait till we can pull this up. If knowledge gives you the strength to give yourself here and hold yourself back over here, there, to give yourself to this person and not that person, it gives you the power to wait. It gives you the power to be patient. It restrains you. It redirects you. It preserves you. I mean, can you imagine that this intelligence is walking with you right at your side? I say that to myself too. I'm not just talking to you. I'm saying that to myself. This knowledge has been walking with us this entire way. It gives us the power to wait. It gives us the power to be patient. It restrains us. It redirects us. It preserves us. So that's important. Preservation of resources, preservation of us. Where to give ourselves, where to hold back, because there's somewhere we need to go. And we have to discern those things. So, incredible calling from these revelations. I don't know who else in the world would speak to us like this, really. Amazing. And then one more passage here. You are allowing your life to be reshaped by knowledge. You are allowing your understanding of money, wealth, and power to be redefined and demonstrated in a new way for you. You are allowing your relationships with everything around you to shift because your relationship with what is essential within you now is emerging. It's wonderful. Fantastic. So I feel such gratitude for this revelation. And so let's just take a moment to be here together. This is wonderful. And Marshall what he was conveying to me prior to our broadcast is that we need to stay with what this revelation is saying. For some of us, we may even feel called to make it a study, which is, where you sit down and you really, really look at those key message points that are striking you and what they may mean with regard to your next steps or with regard to your life today. These, just like all the new message revelations, they can be experienced at different levels depending upon our state of mind and where we are at any given time when we engage with them. So be aware of that as you revisit these revelations, because they're almost, I call it multiphonic. They're speaking from different directions simultaneously. So what you may hear the first time that you hear or read a revelation may be different than what you hear the second or third time. So, and often the more you read or hear, the more you listen, the more you hear. Actually, I'm sorry. It's been my experience. So the more you listen, the more you hear. So thank you. Wonderful. So I'd like to take a moment to share with you some resources that may support your passage forward here after hearing Money, Wealth, and Power, understanding Money, Wealth, and Power. There are a couple of revelations that I think would be very meaningful to listen to. The Pillar of Work, and an incredible revelation entitled Courage. So we want to share that with you. And this revelation, Understanding Money, Wealth, and Power, will be included in a forthcoming book of Revelation. It will be considered one chapter within a book entitled Building the Foundation for a New Life. Okay, this is a forthcoming book, future book. At this moment, 9 of its 19 chapters are now available online. So if you go to newmessage.org, you actually already can spend time with the revelations that are going to be part of Building the Foundation for a New Life. So they're there for you. Steps to Knowledge, the Book of Inner Knowing, is there. It's being studied by people in over 100 countries. It's being translated into 36 languages. It was accorded Book of the Year in the United States at one point. And then there's this precious book, Living the Way of Knowledge. This was received, Living the Way of Knowledge was received as one entire book by Marshall Van Summers within a matter of days. So all of the revelations and all the new message that is currently available can be found at newmessage.org. That's where you will find Understanding Money, Wealth, and Power. So feel free to go there. it's almost a base camp, honestly, newmessage.org. The resources there are tremendous for us, and you'll find them there. So we encourage you to take advantage of what's been given. And certainly, at any point in time, you can communicate with the Society anything that you'd like to share. That would be wonderful to hear from you. So the next, we will be bringing forward future revelations for the very first time. We'd love for you to be there. The next of these live broadcasts and releases is coming up February 23rd in a couple of weeks. And it's another self-knowledge revelation entitled Self-Confidence. And the following revelation beyond that is Ending Violence Within, incredibly powerful. And then Food, Water, and Energy. So we'd like to take a moment to just be with Marshall. He's here with us. And take a moment to be with the stillness that envelops all of us, to know that it's always there at your side. Thank you so much for attending and being here and being amongst the first to receive this revelation. That's great. Bye for now.